Welcome into Boxing Scene Today here at the ProBox TV studios. Well, we appreciate great promotion here at ProBox TV, and Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy did a great job last Saturday with a fight that might have a future star at 140 pounds, and also two fighters that turned back the clock in a way that was so entertaining. And we have the talent to go over it here, Jimmy Smith, alongside the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, and also a guy who happened to have been their coach, Robert Garcia. Coach, I'm going to start with you because you were there. An incredible main event. Of course, Oscar Duarte over Kenneth Sims Jr. You were in the corner of that fight. Tell me all about the preparation for that fight, because your boy came in ready to go, landing short power punches. Was that the game from the beginning?
Look, it was great being there. Chicago hasn't had big fights in a few years, so it was great. You know, the crowd, the people supported that came in and supported the event, which was great. You know, because they also had a great card, just like you said it. But look, Duarte always trains very hard. He comes to the gym already prepared. You know, he's not staying out of the gym back home. He's staying in the gym. He runs. He works out. He exercises. So when he comes to camp, he's already semi prepared. You know, we just finished up with the sparring the last couple of weeks, the last 6 weeks sparring and everything needed for the preparation with the game plan and everything. But yeah, he's one of those guys that's always staying in shape even when he doesn't have a date.
Yeah, Chris, let's talk a little bit about what we were talking about off camera was his star potential, because he was moving forward. It was an aesthetic kind of fight where he was always entertaining. Like I said, landing big power punches. It's a guy who was very, very tough in Sims Jr., man. What do you think about his star potential?
So, with Duarte and Coach, we've spoke about this before. I asked you about him. Like, when did you know that this guy was special? Because he really is. I mean, he's had a hell of a run since that Ryan Garcia fight. And even that Ryan Garcia fight, he was very much in that fight. I think it was more just the lights on the stage and the fact that he was fighting Ryan Garcia, that he didn't perform quite as well as I think he could have. But since he's moved up to 140, he's been on an absolute tear. And I think in one of the press conferences he said, like, I'm going to be the face of this division, and he very much could be. I mean, he's a good-looking kid. He's in great shape. He's exactly what Jimmy said. He comes forward. He's a banger. He puts on exciting fights, and he's willing to fight the best guys around. People don't know how good Sims is. I've called him a few times. I remember when he upset Elvis Rodriguez on a top-ranked card years ago. And I'm watching this fight. I'm watching the way I'm like, this guy's very talented and really knows what he's doing. Very high boxing IQ. So this was a really good fight on paper. But, I really think that this kid really could be a top dog at 140. I think he already is. I think he's going to be trouble for absolutely everyone in that division.
Yeah, is the key, Paulie, from what you've seen of his style and, of course, his fight last Saturday. Sims was trying to use his slick boxing, and he did have his moments, but really couldn't keep Duarte off of him. Is that the key to beating him? And it's going to be tough to do for big guys at 140.
I was a guy with a similar style to Sims, right? So the one thing Sims was doing well was boxing on his feet and whatnot. The only issue is there's one thing he wasn't doing that I think could have helped him. Sometimes in order to offset the pressure of a guy like Duarte, sometimes you bump him physically. You know what I mean? He was using his legs trying to punch, using his legs trying to punch. If you're not a big puncher, the guy's just going to keep on forward anyway. You may be outscoring him, but you're depending on him never catching you all 3 minutes of the round, never catching up to you. So eventually that gets tiring. What you do to offset that is you step in and bump off, create a clinch or bump him back. Now, either you create a clinch or you bump him back. The momentum of coming forward for the pressure fighter is stalled. He's got to go back in first gear. He was in third, fourth gear, coming forward, trucking ahead. Now his feet slow down. Typically, pressure fighters are a little bit slower on their feet. They're a bit more cumbersome. They want you to stay still for them. And so to restart on that first gear, you now have the advantage again. He's got to start all over again, get the gears going again. I think if he had done that, he could have maybe offset some of the pressure and maybe won a couple more rounds. In the end, it was a really close fight. It was a majority decision for Duarte, and I think Duarte really closed it with the last round. I think Sims giving away the last round. I mean, I don't think, actually, the scorecards reflect that. If he doesn't give away the last round, the fight's a draw. So from that perspective, I think Sims is a crafty boxer, but that was one thing he was missing. It's just that little bump off. You don't have to be a physical boxer, but you do have to if you're slick, but you do have to sometimes bump off the pressure guy just to slow, offset his
Dwarte, it's
pressure
tough with a guy
rhythm.
like Dwarte. He's a tank.
Yeah.
Robert, he's strong as
But-
hell, right? Like, it's just physically.
No, but what I'm saying
can
is,
tell.
I'm not telling you to
He's
wrestle
one of
him.
the
I'm
most strongest guys in my
yeah,
gym.
I'm
For
saying,
real.
yeah,
He's very strong.
yeah,
Physically a strong guy.
Yeah, but I'm not telling you, wrestle with the guy. I can tell Duarte's strong. I'm just saying slow down by bumping off at an angle, bump him with your shoulder. Just
B-Hop did that all the time.
yeah, and it just what it does is he's in a comfortable gear. Now he's got to start back on first gear, or you get cause a break. You start now. He's got to go back in first gear, come with those cumbersome feet coming forward because he's not going to stop. Pressure guys like that, they're not going to stop. They're going to bring it. But if you let them gain momentum, it's like. It's like almost like going downhill. Now they pick up speed, and you're what I call going in flight. You end up going in flight, and in flight is tiresome, and in flight also looks bad, especially if you don't box a perfect round, which is very difficult to box all 3 minutes a perfect round. And I think a lot of that eventually was what swayed the fight just slightly in Duarte's favor.
Champ, do you remember when they were actually talking about Dwarte fighting Ryan Garcia, and we were all like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
Yeah,
and
what
we're
do we know
looking
now?
at him, and he didn't look that good. Robert,
Even in the Duarte fight,
And
the Garcia fight, it's a weird referee fight because Garcia kept turning his back with
yes.
those shoulder rolls,
and Dwarte was doing well, but
and he was getting no warning.
Coach, when did you get your hands on Dwarte? Because he's made an incredible turnaround.
Yeah, it was right after the Ryan Garcia fight when he came to me. His management team from Mexico called me up and yeah, that's when they sent him to me right after the Ryan Garcia fight. So we've done together 4 fights already.
So you're the secret, because I was not really that impressed with him when I saw him leading up to the Ryan fight, and he looked pretty good in the Ryan fight. But since then, man, he's been just a totally different guy.
But even in the Ryan fight, Ryan's basically turning his back and getting no warnings, and Duarte can't hit him anywhere. So it's imagine you make Ryan fight the right kind of fight. Who knows, right? I mean, even then, it's
Ryan has said that nobody hit him as hard as Duarte.
Yeah.
He said that he hits harder than Tank.
Yeah, Duarte has he's got an entertaining style, and he's a nice mix in that 140-pound division. I'm not sure he's quite as talented as some of the upper echelon, but he can make up for it with grit, determination, physicality.
And Robert saying that he stays in shape in between fights.
yeah.
That's big, man.
And he's just limited enough. He's good, but he's just limited enough to where I think guys will fight him. So I think he'll get those fights.
I want to ask Coach about that because it's something I was going to ask you. This idea of there are more talented fighters, but when you think about 140, we think about names like Teofimo Lopez, Subriel Matias, inconsistency, right? We have some talented guys, as Paulie said, but we also have some inconsistency at the top. Is Dwarte the kind of guy, you as a coach, you think you can take advantage of that?
Look, all Duarte needs is that opportunity. We know that there's so many, different, all the promotions, the champions, they have other plans. They're looking for the big fights. They're looking for the big paydays. But all we need is that opportunity. That's all he's waiting for. He's dedicated. He's focused, and hopefully Golden Boy could put something together because he's the kid is ready just for that opportunity. As soon as they give him that opportunity, he'll be 100% ready for whoever. It doesn't matter which one of the champions. It's a stacked division. 140 is got a lot of talent. I have a lot of 140 pounders in that division, so we have to kind of make sure where we put one and the other one, what sanctioning bodies, because we got to, that's my job as a trainer also, to be able to work with the managers, with the promoters, to know where to put them so they don't have to face each other. But the division is stacked, and hopefully we get an opportunity. I think he's there. He's just waiting for that call for many of the champions, and I don't know if they'll take the chance to fight him because it's too risky for the payday. Maybe against him they can't get the same payday as fighting unifying against Teofimo or those kind of guys. They make a lot of money, so I don't think it's gonna be that easy for any of the champions to be willing to take a voluntary title defense against Duarte.
But I'll tell you what, I'm gonna put my matchmaker's hat on right now.
Which you're good at.
Sometimes,
A little bit.
But I like Matias and Duarte.
Yeah.
2 pressure guys. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Matias and Duarte,
would love that.
both guys
Great
that
fight.
go at. They don't have to look for each other. They're actually gonna find each other, and they both like to back the opponent up. So it'll be a battle of attrition, and I like that fight. Man.
All right. Put
Robert, That's my goal.
All right, Robert, put that together.
It's an awesome fight.
All right, start working for that one. But when it comes to fights where two guys didn't back down and give us a great fight, Regis Prograis, Jojo Diaz turning back the clock. Chris, this is a fight everybody was talking about, Sunday and Monday. This idea that these two guys who we thought might just show up for a payday, really wouldn't give us everything, they gave us a great fight, Chris. They deserve respect for that.
Potential fight of the year type fight.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. Back and forth, ebbs and flows, and two former champions. And sometimes when guys are a little over the hump,
This guy reads my mind.
they make
Better
both
fights.
guys are in
Right.
the same place.
Yeah, we've seen that in the
It
past.
makes for a really good fight. Neither one of these guys, I think, are world class anymore. I don't think either one of them can fight, at the highest level and be like the top of a division. Especially Jojo at 140. I mean, he's two weight classes.
Where do you go now with Regis? Do you move him into a big fight, or do you make the Jojo rematch? I wouldn't mind seeing the Jojo rematch.
It depends. I think Regis probably wants title fights or title opportunities. He wants to be a world champion again. The Catterall
Can't
fight
win, like you said.
between Catterall and Haney, I'm like, I don't see that ever really happening. But he is a big name. He is a former champion. He's a former two-time champion. He's still a good fighter. He's just not at that level anymore. And neither one of them are. But hell, they put on a great fight. I mean, sometimes it's better off when you match up these guys out. Almost like when we talk about Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua.
Right.
They're not at their best, but I still want to see it because it'll probably still be a good fight because they're both in similar positions.
Being their Golden Boy fighters, are you going to wind up with Duarte against Prograis instead?
I think that's a great fight for Dwarte. I think it's a good name to put on his record. Does it happen? Very possible.
Yeah, but this idea of and I want to ask you, Coach, this idea that Paulie just brought up of, you'll have a really entertaining fight against Jojo, but sometimes you want to cash a guy out, in a sense. Have that big fight like Chris was talking about, maybe get that title fight where he would be on the B side, but he'd bank a big payday and kind of the end of his career. How do you make decisions like that as a coach?
Look, me honestly, I would prefer Regis or Jojo, to fight each other again, and they made a great fight, get a decent payday instead of looking out there, that's between the management and the promoters. But I'm also a fan of boxing, and I also know when a fighter should or should not take those type of fights. And if they do it, we're gonna prepare to do it. But I wouldn't want to see Duarte against Regis. Regis is a former champion, great name, but I would rather see the rematch with him and Jojo because they put up a great fight. I think it does deserve another fight because it was so good, so close. There was a little controversy. There was, it was a great fight. I would love to see that.
And we got to touch on what we saw when the doctor comes in, Paulie. You saw it, asks him how many fingers. He says the wrong number of fingers. They keep the fight going. What are you thinking as a fighter there?
That answer used to matter. The whole fight used to hang in the balance of you seeing the right amount of fingers there. Now it's just a rhetorical question.
Apparently.
You don't have to answer it right or anything, which because Jojo didn't answer it right. You just got to answer it. As long as you answer it, you're good. So he's conscious enough to answer to know that I asked him a question, so I'm going to let him fight. And Jojo fought well after that, too.
Yeah, he didn't just give up in the fight.
I guess you're going to make me fight, so I guess I'll go for it.
You can always say, I'm not good with numbers.
Because you remember Arturo Gatti and Wilson Rodriguez, for those of us old enough to remember it. Dude, Arturo's cheating trying to go with the guy that told me.
I think Joe Souza was actually hitting him tapping him on the leg, so he knew how many was up.
That's an old corner trick, by the way, folks. Is the corner will tap you the number of.
I used to always say, well, it's never going to be one, so I always say two.
Yeah.
The guy's not going to hold up one finger. How many fingers are holding up? So I always knew. I was like, if I can't see, I'm always going to say two.
But that answer, the whole fight was hanging in the balance. Arturo was trying to cheat and everything and trying to see it. Cover your eye.
Cover your eye. It's over. It's right.
Now it's like, Jojo, just answer the question.
For people who didn't see it, the doctor says how many fingers? It holds up one, and Jojo says two, and he goes, all right, and leaves, and he goes
I think
to
he
fight.
asked him twice.
Yeah.
He did that twice.
He got it wrong twice.
Let me bring something up.
Go ahead,
Please.
Something more serious about this, because we're joking and we're having fun because it was, it's
because
it's
Jojo
fun.
fought
It's
well.
funny
Right,
to
Jojo
do
fought
that.
well, yeah.
How many fingers? Okay, he's pointing, he's pulling one up, and Jojo saying two, and then he pulls two up, and Jojo says one.
Yep.
What I'm a little worried, and you guys, haven't brought it up. I'm pretty sure it's not your case with both of you, Paulie and Paulie and
Chris.
Chris. Sorry guys. But double vision It's
Yeah.
something that happens to a lot of boxers.
Yeah.
And when I'm telling you guys, because I was one of them. When you have something so close to your depending on which eye it is. To me, it was my left. So to my left, I see good, but to my right, I see double. So
Wow.
we don't know if this is something that is going on
Jojo.
with Jojo, because he's taking a lot of punishment. He's taking a lot of punches, and that's what that happens. So it's something that we have fun
Yeah.
bringing it up and everything. And it was great that the ref still let him continue, and he continued to put up a great fight. But it's something that could be a little worried for Jojo himself, because if that is the case, hopefully it's not. But if that is the case, then it's something he needs to
Yeah.
take care of and get checked up, because that's something that I know personally, because it happened to me, and I know it's happened to a lot of fighters. But most of the times, most of the fighters are afraid or embarrassed to admit it, and a lot of them continue fighting, knowing that they have the problem, but they don't admit it. They just won't say it.
That happened to me when I broke my orbital in the Ruslan fight, because it was pushing on my on one of my optic nerves. So when I looked straight or down, I saw double. If I looked up, in the top half of my vision, it was fine. So I had to keep my head down like this to look up through my eyes while I finished that fight. But that went away in a couple months. It was something that never really stuck with me, but it was because of the swelling that was pushing on the optic nerve on the bottom end of my eye. So I do remember actually dealing with that. Not for an extended period of time,
Yes.
but it
Sometimes
it can.
sometimes it doesn't go away, and
Right.
Yeah, I
sometimes
think,
a lot of times doesn't go away. It's
coach.
Chris. I remember 20 years ago, Jannar Hernandez, rest in peace, Jannar Hernandez, is the one that discovered my problem. He told me, Ray Robert, we were having a soccer game, because we used to, we were really good friends. So we were having a soccer game, and he told me, hey, Robert, you have double vision, right? I'm like, how do you know? He's like, it's the way you're looking at the ball when you're running after the ball. You have
Wow.
and he noticed, and he gave me the doctor's
Optometrist.
information, where he had, because he had the same problem and he had surgery. So I went to the same doctor, and yes, it corrected it. But actually, now 20 years later, I'm starting. I think I'm going to need another surgery, because it
Wow.
does happen.
Wow.
So it's something that everybody's having fun, saying about Jojo, but it might be the case. I don't know if he's willing to admit
Wow.
it, or because a lot of fighters don't say it,
Yeah.
but it does happen to a lot of fighters.
See, this is why everybody got to watch the show every day at home, guys. You see the details the details we give you with our guys here. Coach, that's
No,
a
it's true.
great input, Coach. Great input. I'm going to mention another guy who I think had that problem, because I heard him complaining about it at the end of his career. Is Mickey Ward. Mickey, after the Arturo Gotti fights,
Gotti did
also-
too. Said his vision was
also was Gotti
shot,
too.
yeah.
I remember Mickey was saying, though, after the trilogy, like I think when he looked up or something like that, when he looked up, there was something to certain angles he would see either floaties or he was seeing double or something like that. But yeah, great point, Coach. Great point.
As my 20 plus years as a boxing coach, I've already retired three of my young prospects because of that. Because I noticed them. I noticed them during sparring. I noticed while they're walking, while they're looking at you, they kind of have they tilt their head towards to one side, left or right, or sometimes, like you said, champ, Chris, they have to pick up their head to look straight, or
Yep.
they have to put it down to look to
Right.
be able to look good. Because that happened to my older brother too when he was boxing. It happened to me, So I noticed, and it's already been three of my young prospects. Were never even in world title fights or anything, but they were young prospects that I noticed, and I had to tell them, look, that's it. I don't want you to continue fighting. And yeah, they retired. They respected my decision. But yeah, it happens in boxing a lot.
Dude, this went from a couple laughs to something really
Sobering, yeah.
serious,
Sobering
but
and
really,
serious,
really
yeah.
important
Great
stuff to
information.
bring up.
Anytime, guys, we see fighters of JoJo's and Prograis' age, and you go, man, that a long, difficult fight. It takes out so much, Paul, as you know, from your body, from your brain, than it would when you were in your 20s, when you're in your prime. It's just those long, difficult, grueling fights.
It's your body isn't made to take as much punishment later, so you got to adjust your training. I'm learning that now myself too. You got to adjust your training. You got to adjust even the way you fight a lot of times, and of course you got to pay more attention to what you're feeling as well. Really good point, because vision is something that you take with you the rest of your
And
life, or you don't.
we have trouble fixing eyes.
Yeah.
That's one thing. From a medical standpoint, eyes are hard to fix.
Well,
But just to make it a little bit of a laugh, to close it again, guys. Obviously, Jojo took Paulie from Rocky's advice in Rocky 4.
Hit the
He
one
hit the one in the middle.
Hit the one in the middle.
Because Jojo was hitting.
I'm seeing
and swinging.
3 of them out there.
hit the one in the middle.
Hitting the one in the middle because he fought his ass off after
Yeah, he
that.
fought well.
If you're of a certain age, you remember that advice for the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, of course, Coach Robert Garcia. Great insight about Saturday. Remember, a fight can be the difference between living the rest of your life in comfort and your rest of your life with a disability, and every fighter knows that. And this has been Boxing Scene Today as it makes boxing news. We'll talk about it right here. Tune in, find out why millions are watching.